Hello, boys and girls. Good morning to the morning group and good afternoon to the afternoon group. I hope you're well. Do you remember we have these books? We count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. These I'll turn them upside down so you can see, like our cushions, our ladybird books. Yeah. And we've read some, haven't we? I think we read this one, didn't we? Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Let's count the bears. 1, 2, 3. Three bears. Very good. And then we read this one about the princess and the frog, and she lost her golden ball in the lake or the little pool of water. Do you remember that? And then the frog had to jump into the lake to get it for her. And then he said, "You have to bring me home and put me on your pillow." And she did. And then he turned into a princess. So we haven't read these ones. So I'm going to pick one out. Let's see, can we read one now? Boom, and I picked out this one. So I'll put the other ones over there for a second out of the way. And we have this book here. Now have a look at the cover and see what you can see. What can you see? Well, look very carefully. You can see two little fellas there. Look at them. They have some pointy ears, so they're a bit unusual. They've unusual ears, and they're working on a shoe. I think they're fixing a shoe, or are they making a shoe? I wonder. Look at that. Yeah. Now, so these two fellas here, they're elves. They are elves. And they are held by the person who makes shoes, who's a shoemaker. A shoemaker, yeah, isn't that interesting? So this story is called The Elves and the Shoemaker. Oh, I'm just glad we're reading this book because we did a video today, didn't we, about pairs of socks. Well, here's another thing that comes in pairs. Pairs of shoes. Well, I read the book for you. Okay. I'll open this up now. Now, what? What? Oh, do you want me to read it to you? Oh, sorry. I was just reading it to myself. I'm a noodle. Ready? You listening? Once upon a time, there was a poor shoemaker, who had no money to buy food for himself or his wife. And when he looked around his shop, he found he had just enough leather to make one pair of shoes. Now, leather, that's the thing that shoes are made out of, yeah. So he only had enough leather to make one pair of shoes. So carefully, he cut out the leather. I'll show you. He cut out the leather to get ready to make the pair of shoes. Well, it was night time, and he was so tired, he said, "I'll leave them here, and I'd finish them in the morning. I'm going to go to bed now." The poor shoemaker. They had no money for food, and he only had enough leather to make one pair of shoes. Well, the next morning he woke up and he went into his workshop and he got a shock. The leather that he had left there had turned into a pair of shoes. Somebody had made the shoes during the night. Well, he was very surprised, and he went into his wife and he said, "Look, I left this leather out last night, and I was going to finish the shoes this morning, but when I came in, they were already ready." "Oh," said his wife, "that's strange." "Yes," he said. "Now, I want to know, did you make those shoes?" And she said, "No." "Oh," he said, "well, if you didn't make them, and I didn't make them, who made them?" It was a bit of a mystery. Now, a mystery is when you don't know what's happening. It's a mystery. Well, anyway, the next day, a lady came into the shop and she said, "Oh, I love those shoes," she said. "I'd like to buy them." And she tried them on and they fitted her perfectly. Amazing. Perfectly. Well, she said, "I'm going to buy them." And guess what? She paid him 5 pieces of silver. That's a lot of money. 5 pieces of silver for the lovely red shoes. Oh my goodness me. Now, so the shoemaker, now he had money to buy some food for himself and his wife, and also he now had enough money left over to buy leather to make 2 pairs of shoes. 2 pairs of shoes. Well, that night he cut out the leather and he was about to make the shoes, but he felt very tired and he said, "I'll tell you what, I'll finish those shoes in the morning." Well, you'll never guess what happened when he came down the next morning. He didn't have to finish the shoes because they were already finished. Dun, dun, dun. That is a mystery. Look, he's scratching his head. Who made those shoes? And he said to his wife, did you make those shoes? No, she said, I didn't. Well, if you didn't make them, he said, and I didn't make them, who made the shoes? Well, he just didn't know. But anyway, somebody came into the shop that day and they liked those shoes so much that they bought the 2 pairs of them for 10 pieces of silver. Now, this kept happening, and every night that the shoemaker cut out the leather and left the pieces of leather out, he would come down and the shoes were ready every single morning. And look, one day he came down to see all these shoes. Amazing! Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pairs of shoes. Who's making the shoes? And every day he say to his wife, did you make them shoes? And she said, no. Well, if you didn't make them and I didn't make them, who was making all the shoes? But they were selling so much shoes that they became very rich. Look at their lovely fancy clothes. Yeah, they became quite rich and they had lots of money now. Because there's a mystery is who is making all the shoes? Well, one Christmas night, just before Christmas, see their tree there, they were sitting having their dinner, and look outside the window, it's snowing, it's very cold. And the shoemaker said, look, he said, we have to find out who's making the shoes. What are we going to do? And his wife said, I have an idea. Tonight, why don't we sneak into the workshop at night time and hide and wait and see, can we see who's making the shoes? Good idea, said the shoemaker. So they sneaked in and they hid in the workshop and they waited to see who was making the pairs of shoes. And just then they heard the door opening. Bling, bling. And in walked. Oh, look at them. Can you see them? They're teeny tiny. 1, 2. 2 little elves came into the shop. Now the elves didn't see the shoemaker or his wife, and they jumped up onto the counter and they started to finish the shoes. They stitched the leather, they hammered the soles in, and they polished the shoes and left wonderful pairs of shoes there for the shoemaker the next morning. And when they were finished, they dashed out of the shop. Well, that's the end of the mystery. It's the elves who are making the shoes. Now, the shoemaker the next day was thinking of the poor little elves. He said to his wife, we'll have to do something to help them or to say thank you. What can we do? And his wife said, well, she said, look, she said, she's sitting down thinking, did you not see that their clothes were all ripped and torn? Yes, said the shoemaker, and the poor elves had no shoes on their feet or no socks. Yes, said the shoemaker. Well, this is what we'll do. You make them a nice pair of shoes each, and I will make them some lovely clothes. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah. So the next day, the little shoemaker, he's quite tall, he made 2 pairs of little shoes. Aren't they lovely? Look at them. Green shoes. 1 pair, 2 pairs of shoes for the little elves. And his wife made caps, hats, shirts, waistcoats, trousers, and some socks. Yeah. And what they did was, look, they wrapped everything up like little presents. Because it was Christmas time, they wrapped up all the little presents and they left them on the counter in his workshop. And then they hid behind the counter again to see what would happen. Well, the 2 elves came in and they saw there was no leather on the counter, but the presents. And they saw the presents. They were so happy that they put on the brand new clothes. Look, new caps, new waistcoats, new shirts, new trousers, socks, and lovely new pairs of shoes. And they were so happy. And look at them, there they are, all dressed up. Look at us. Aren't we lovely? Aren't we beautiful? And they put on their clothes. They were so happy that they danced around. And look, they have little feathers in their caps. And they sang a little song. They sang, oh, what handsome boys are we. We'll work on shoes no more. And they were so happy. Look, we're not going to make shoes anymore. Now we have some lovely clothes. And they ran out and they danced off into the moonlight. Look at them going off down in the snowy ground. Oh, I'm glad they have new clothes and shoes on their feet. I wouldn't want to walk in the snow and the cold Majula, dancing down with snowy feet. Look at them. Now, don't worry about the elf. The elves are gone, but don't worry about the shoemaker. They were very happy because they made lots of shoes from then on, and the shoemaker made his own shoes, and they lived happily ever after. Look at them now. That's a nice story. The elves and the shoemakers. And it's one of our Ladybird books. And now we've read 3 of them. 1, 2. Where's the other one gone? I can't find it. 3. We read 3 of them. So we've read Goldilocks, the Princess and the Frog, and the Elves and the Shoemaker. Now, I hope you enjoyed that little story, okay? Now, over in Inchicore today, it's a bit cold, but it's nice and bright out. So go out and have a run around today. Go and get some nice fresh air, and I'll talk to you later, okay? Goodbye, you big noodles.